Anthology horror is a special kind of horror. Not only do you get at least 3 times the scares, you get all kinds of styles and perspectives from various writers all wrapped in a horrific thematic package. One of these we've already covered on the channel, Tales from the Crypt in 1972 in my Amicus video. We're going to be going through some of my top anthology horror recommendations that you might enjoy during the spooky season, or just any day you need to relax and be reminded of why variety is the spice of life, including in horror anthology. Kwaidan, 1964, Masaki Kobayashi. If you're a fan of snow, long, dark hair, or traditional biwa music, this movie might be your cup of tea. A Japanese anthology horror based on a 1904 book by Afkario Hearn, or Yakumo Kozumi, a writer and translator who was credited with bringing Japanese culture and literature to the Western world, entitled Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things, a collection of stories and brief non-fiction studies on insect, which okay. Anyway, Kwaidan is exactly what it translates to. Ghost stories. Really.
Ah bah oui, vraiment.
They're collections of Japanese folktales which are really creepy, including the stories The Black Hair, The Woman of the Snow, Hoichi the Earless, and In a Cup of Tea. This anthology is impressive in both its storytelling and its effect. And speaking of storytelling and effect, if you think my storytelling is
nice,
make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and let me know in the comments below what you would include in your own anthology horror story. For a 1960s film, the effects, cinematography, and aesthetics are really great. I first saw this film in uni.
I went to college.
And it was unlike any anthology I had seen before. The Woman of the Snow and the Black Hair in particular are some of my favorites of this anthology for their stories and their overall execution. No pun intended. Let's also talk about the soundtrack by Toru Takemitsu that is incredibly chilling and haunting. It emphasizes specter-like camera movements and the folk costuming and setting. Unsurprisingly, Kwaidan was a success all around, with critics globally praising the storytelling and visual accolades it most certainly deserved. This film is also one that was instrumental in the formation of the J-horror genre as well, which later became influential in shaping the Western horror of the 2000s. If you haven't seen those videos, which we covered on J-horror and Y2K horror, you can watch these right after this video. Getting back to what I love about the film, I just can't get over how awesome the makeup and costuming is. They are extremely reminiscent of folk Japanese historical art and look like pieces of artwork themselves. Especially in Hoichi the Earless, it appears as if the ancient artworks and paintings seem to literally come to life throughout the tale. Not to mention the amazing sequence of painting the sutras on Hoichi to ward off the spirits that continue to visit. The film is remarkably surreal, existential, and phantasma ostentatiousness. It's wonderfully chilling to look at and haunting to listen to. This film transports you to an old mountain in Japan at night where some guide is telling you spooky ghost stories, or Kwaidan by firelight.
Girl, I am living.
If you want an anthology that brings chilling Japanese folklore to the screen in a beautifully showcased conception, this one's for you. Just make sure you bring some salt and sutras.
Your sushi. I call upon the power of Ma.
VHS 2 2013. Directed by a whole bunch of different directors, this sequel to the 2012 original VHS hits way better than its predecessor, featuring stories framed around 2 investigators attempting to locate a missing college student, stumbling upon a room full of mysterious TVs and tapes, and watching them. These found footage horror stories bring scares and gore in the form of biotech implants, bike rides, cults, and alien abductions. VHS 2 expands into more variant types of horror than the original. Honestly, this is one of those rare movies that is actually better than the original in my opinion. A sequel was released in 2014 entitled VHS Viral and continued the madness as well in VHS 94 in 2021, VHS 99 in 2022, VHS 85 in 2023, VHS Beyond in 2024, and the 2025 film VHS 8. Personally, I'm a big fan of the VHS franchise, and I think for the most part they're pretty entertaining and showcase talented filmmakers across their anthology. Some of my particular favorites from this one are the tapes Safe Haven and Slumber Party Alien Abduction. These are honestly so horrifying and more than just gore and guts. Alright, so the first one may have a little bit of guts still. Fun fact, the short film Slumber Party Alien Abduction actually got a full-length feature version called Kids vs. Aliens in 2022. I haven't watched this one, but from what I heard, it's not as good as its short version. The VHS movies do as most anthologies have in providing a unifying base or frame for the found footage films. Honestly think that the one for this film is one of the better ones, as it connects itself loosely to the first one, but makes it better with its concept. Maybe just a personal preference, but I like the personal investigator framing focus ghosts rather than a group of horrible guys. I don't know how many people enjoy found footage films, but I actually really enjoy them and their aesthetics and style. Since the Blair Witch Project in 1999, found footage films have become more popular in the mainstream. No, this was not the first found footage film. Hello, Cannibal Holocaust, 1980, and The Last Broadcast in 1998, but it was certainly the one to really reinvigorate the found footage genre. And VHS 2 certainly takes advantage of that. Its dark style and stories combined with its creepy framing storyline makes it a horrific, entertaining anthology ranging from ghost haunts, gore, and aliens. It gives a variety of subgenre horror for any fan looking for some quick scares. So go ahead, hop in that creepy, obscure VHS and watch it. The worst that could happen is that it turns out to be a secretly embarrassing cringe thing you did that one time that someone secretly taped for blackmail. But what are the chances?
How rude of me. I haven't given you enough time to freak out yet. You may do so now.
Oh my god! Oh my god! There!
The Three Faces of Fear, aka Black Sabbath in 1963 by Mario Bava. It's not Ozzy, it's Bava, but also Ozzy? And R.I.P. Ozzy. I'm not over it. You're not over it. Come on. From one of the masters of giallo, macabre, gothic, and slasher horror, Mario Bava, this early anthology is not only a classic in its genre, it's one of the most influential anthology horror films of all time. The Three Faces of Fear, or Black Sabbath, covers 3 short films: Drop of Water, The Telephone, and The Word Lock, introduced by the macabre man himself, Boris Karloff. Not only did it inspire the horror anthology genre, it also inspired an extremely famous rock band formerly called Earth, but known today as Black Sabbath, the origin of the name taken from Bava's English title. Even Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction in 1994 was initially going to be modeled after Black Sabbath, becoming an anthology crime film rather than the multiple plot-connected story that the movie is, which, by the way the film is laid out, you can see how it was going to be 3 different stories. Black Sabbath displays Bava's signature colorful, indulgent, and inventive lighting and camera angles. It's such a shame that Bava's eye for cinematography and storytelling so often met commercial failure and negative review. You can see in this film similar stylistic elements that can be seen in his later films, much like Blood and Black Lace in 1964, and actually, The Telephone has often been considered his first emulation of a giallo film. These stories display horror across multiple periods of time, which Bava actually sought out to achieve in order to showcase horror throughout time. I love all of these stories, but I particularly am fond of The Drop of Water and The Telephone, both for their artistic cinematography and vibrant design, as well as the building creepiness and anxiety of their stories. The Word Lock is great too. It's just a little more slow burn than the other 2, but is great nonetheless, and appears to have similar set designs in the cemetery and crypt as Black Sunday in 1960. Another wonderful Mario Bava film that we've actually discussed on this film earlier and last year during this time in my Barbara Still video. It's creepy, it looks incredible, and it's very entertaining, even if you're not into the vintage horror vibes. If you want an anthology that crosses over 3 different time periods with as many chills as the last, this one's for you. Just don't go taking any rings off of corpses. I mean, that should just go without saying. Somehow people don't know.
Foolishness. Oh no, please. Have pity. Have mercy. Have mercy. Beg you.
3 Extremes, 2004. A film that will never make you want to eat dumplings again. The Horror of East Asia, a sequel to the original film 3 in 2003. This anthology provides 3 extreme short horror films by Fruit Chan, Park Chan-wook, and Takashi Miike. 3 Extremes takes you on an extreme journey through 3 different tales of destructive ambition, dark resentment, and haunting guilt in Dumplings, Cut, and Box. This anthology is not for the faint of heart or mind, as it delves into the visceral dark side of humanity that is fueled by societal pressure, expectation, and repression. I can't tell you which are my favorites because all of these are my favorites, honestly. They are shot so aesthetically pleasing in the most horrific ways, with great effects and wonderful storytelling. All the stories are fleshed out, no pun intended, extremely well, and will have you looking away often, but never wanting to stop seeing what happens next. The first one is an absolute classic horror anthology story and actually was adapted into a full-length film entitled Dumplings that was actually released in the same year. But I honestly think that the short film is better. Then, Cut is an interesting and chilling commentary on the connotative assumptions and discrepancies surrounding class, wealth, and ethics. Again, this one is shot extremely well Vowell acted tremendously and looked so wonderful in its aesthetics and effects. Piano wire setup is honestly extremely wickedly cool. The last short, Bach, is a wonderfully colorful tale that takes a turn you will not see coming. It's some of the best Asian horror I've seen and is worth a watch or four. It hits all the marks on what you want in horror visually, thematically, and allegorically. If you're wanting some horror with your dinner, definitely skip this one. Seriously, you're never gonna want to eat dumplings again after this. Tales from the Darkside, 1990, John Harrison. A rock star, a zombie godfather, and Steve Buscemi all in one anthology. This one's not for your mummy. Tales from the Darkside is an anthology that comes from the 90s and brings three wickedly dark tales, Lot 249, The Cat from Hell, and Lover's Vow, to life, all in an attempt to save a kidnapped boy from the cannibalistic Blondie lead singer. This film is actually an adaptation of the TV series Tales from the Darkside, created by one of the masters of horror, George A. Romero. After doing Creepshow and Creepshow 2, Romero moved to adapt his own series into a full anthology feature, and I'd have to say that he succeeded. Although this is not the third installment in the Creepshow movies, though many within the horror industry considering it a more spirited Creepshow 3 than the actual Creepshow 3 in 2006, with three chilling tales taken from classic spooky stories. Lot 249 being an adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's short story Lot number 249 in 1892, The Cat from Hell being an adaptation of the 1977 Stephen King short story of the same name, and Lover's Vow being a loose adaptation of the Yuki Onna Woman of the Snow from Lafcadio Hearn's 1904 novel Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things, which we also mentioned earlier, so yay! Honestly, this anthology has killer visuals, effects, and storytelling. While critics mainly disagree, I think fans will recognize the fun and humor in Tales from the Darkside, the movie. And being a fan of the original TV series, I can say that this movie captures a more polished and visceral image than its TV counterpart. That is not a slight to the TV show because both are great. I mean, the transformation sequence in Lover's Vow, which I won't really spoil for you, is insane and classic Romero practical effects score, and really does a wacky, campy, good job at its loose adaptation of Yuki Onna. My particular favorites are Lot 249 and Lover's Vow. They just have such great campy acting, and you know what, so does The Cat from Hell. All three are just too good, and I love the campy effects and stories. I like this anthology because you really come to root for the underdogs even when they have malicious intentions. Except for the Black Cat, they're well justified in seeking their revenge. Testing on animals, I think that that's acceptable for retaliation upon the animals that you're torturing. Another aspect I love about this anthology is its framing story, using a fairy tale-like framing of Hansel without Gretel, and Debbie Harry as the cannibalistic witch is really clever and satisfying in that it offers horror from multiple perspectives, people in the stories and the kid, as well as serving as an ironic twist for horrific storytelling in order to delay a possible horrific ending. Overall, this anthology will have you rooting for black cats, nerds, and gargoyles. If you want some camp and insane practical effects, this anthology is for you. Just remember to keep your promises, don't bully people, you'll be fine. From Kwaidan to VHS home videos, anthology horror is presented in many different forms, offering multiple scares from various stories all in one filmic package. It's really a great deal, honestly. Anthology horror has evolved from being posed as late-night horror hosting entertainment to becoming frightening stories with a usually more frightening overarching story. From found footage, folktales, storybooks, and just extreme horror, anthology is a variety option for anyone looking to be chilled and thrilled differently, multiple times in one session.
That's what she said.
And who doesn't love that? Just don't go eating anyone's strange home cooking, and don't get sticky fingers while you're preparing a corpse, and definitely don't go off with strangers in the snow. Do that and you might make it to the final story. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below. What is your favorite anthology horror film or your favorite ghost story? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and spooky, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.